The breathing session today, so I'm going to be talking about yesterday first, which is the second day of the freediving, and then I'll be talking about the breathing session from today in the next video, which is really cool, so look forward to that. So with regards to freediving yesterday, we basically arrived at Manly. I think it's called the Spit near Manly, at like 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30 or something, and then we were in the water by about 9 o'clock. And what we were doing is first we're doing immersion dives, where you go down with a rope and you try and get a few meters or something, and then you come back up. And it's to get you used to like equalising in the water, which is where you basically have to pop your ears, but try not to use the breath that you've got down here, just only the breath that's in your throat and stuff. But I found that particularly hard. So what they were saying is that when you go home, you can practice, doing that off the edge of your bed or something, so you're hanging down or hang off a bar or something. And something that I found out from my scene teacher when I had a long call with him yesterday is that he started doing, not like hanging upside down, but hanging from a pull-up bar for like in the morning for maybe 7-8 minutes or something. Not a one go, but like for a minute here and then another minute, etc. With breaks in between. And he says he's really eased up a lot of his I guess muscle tension in his back and stuff, and gets a few injuries now in his shoulders and all that. But yeah, so that's obviously unrelated, but in terms of the hanging to try and do the equalisation, that's what they were suggesting. And then we did what's called the duck dives, where you're not using the rope, but you're kind of turning in the water. You like arch your back, so you then dive down, and you have to be really strong at kicking out. Something I've been doing at swimming recently, because I'm not very good at swimming. I think mostly because of the breathing, it's not great, but hopefully it'll change after the session today. Where I got loads of good advice on that sort of thing. Not particularly due to swimming, but just in general breathing. But I'll tell you about that in the next one, obviously. But yeah, so you have to be really strong at kicking to get down, because we're going down to a maximum of 20 meters. And I didn't actually get 20 meters at all on the whole in the whole session. We did a morning session and an afternoon session, because the afternoon one we were kind of just going deeper and deeper. I was getting like 2 meters, 2.5 meters at the start. Then I managed to get one with 4 meters, and then eventually 6.8, and then the last one was like I think it was 8.7 meters. And it's really cool because I can see it on the watch, because as you go in the water, it like automatically goes to the depth meter, I think it's called. And that was really cool, because like you'd come up and you'd be like, oh, I wonder what that was like, and then you can automatically see it, which is really cool. And then basically the coolest thing about it is that you're doing it in one breath, the whole thing. You're going down, say with me for example, it's 8 meters, and then you can see around you, you've got these jellyfish. They're actually harmless apparently, but you've got these, I saw like 8 of these white jellyfish, and I'm down there at level, and you just kind of forget where you are for a second. You're like, wow, that is really incredible witnessing, because you're in the water with them. It's like you're almost living there in their same environment, which is really cool. And if you're relaxed and calm when you're doing freediving, which is what you're meant to be, it's just you can then really take a second to enjoy what's around you. So that was really cool. And to be honest, the whole water was really murky. It was meant to be clearer than that, but it was really murky yesterday, and quite choppy as well. So we had to, at one point, we had to tie our buoy, which we were the rope was hanging from. We would we tied it to like a nearby boat or something. I don't know if that's dodgy, but apparently that's what they do. But yeah, so it's really relaxing when you're down there. It's just, you're always thinking in the back of your mind, it's like, oh, I need to breathe now, and you're meant to push past it. Honestly, I was a little bit scared, so I didn't push past it many times. The reason I came up on all the times is pretty much because my all except one, which is why I was worried about like running out of breath, because you're holding it very solidly, but then when you feel that urge to breathe, you can kind of panic when you're like 8 meters down, obviously, because when you're swimming up, you're like really hoping that you're going to reach the surface, and you're like, sorry, not like this, but you're pulling on the rope. At least in my case I was, because I was doing the descent like standing almost, because I couldn't do the equalisation face down. So yeah, I wasn't doing it properly, but at least I was able to experience going down deep and then holding on to one breath. But yeah, as you're pulling up the rope, I'm just like, I really hope it's soon, and then you can gradually see the water getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and that's obviously the sunlight coming in. And it's also a really hot day, so it's like 36, so it's really nice weather. And you get to the top, and then you do like a recovery breath, which is like this, and that starts to calm you down again. But yeah, super interesting. So it was like one of the times I came up because I was worried about the breath. All the other times were because, you know, my ears hadn't popped on, say, one side or something. And then that meant that it starts to really, really hurt. And as soon as it hurts your ears, you have to go immediately up. I would do it again, but I'm not super keen to do it immediately because it was quite a taxing weekend. It doesn't leave room for much else. But they do free diving on Sundays, pretty much every Sunday, I think, in the same kind of area. And they said, you know, you can hire the gig and tag along and stuff and get better. So I might do that, just probably not in the next few weeks or something. I'll just give it a little bit of a break. But yeah, really interesting. And it was obviously really cool with the watch. You can see how far you are and stuff. And what was interesting is because there was one guy there who was he was part of our group, but he was already an experienced freediver, so he was just, you know, doing practice. And you could see him before he was about to do his diving. He was calmer than the rest of us. He was really like shutting his eyes and really like taking slow, deep breaths. It was really interesting because that's exactly what you need to do when you're about to like perform or, you know, practice seeing something. Really, really calm this whole area, and then everything becomes free and open. Yeah. Anyway, that was yesterday. It was really, really flipping cool. Yeah, not sure what else there is to say about that other than I'd highly recommend going. And it's a common theme of this whole YouTube channel so far. It's like, if you're going to a professional who knows what they're talking about, you're going to get so much more out of it than if you're looking on YouTube like this, or shot myself in the foot there, I suppose. Looking on YouTube or the internet somewhere. If you go and see a professional in person, they just got so much more, you know, wisdom that you couldn't have found out by yourself in like some Google searches. And also they can tell you immediately what you're doing wrong. It's like, if I'd looked up loads of freediving stuff before and then done it, it's like, it'd be so much worse than if I do it and I got someone saying, no, this is wrong, do that, do that, do that. For example, the way I was kicking was I was doing what the lady was calling like, I was doing cycling kicks with the flippers, and the flippers are actually really, really longer than I thought they'd be. Yeah, because I've had flippers before for like snorkeling, and these are really long. But you're meant to, you know, only move from your hips, and your legs are meant to be really straight. And with me, I kept on doing these cycling legs, and she was getting a little bit annoyed about that. But it's like, again, it's like, if I hadn't have someone telling me what I'm doing wrong, then you can't correct it. And yeah, and that applies to the breathing sessions that I did today, and I'll tell you about that in the next video.